Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions. Our regular Wednesday show with Steve from BigZebra.com, a great channel of comedy. And also Mac, who's not very active on the internet right now, except for pretty much this show, unless I'm wrong.
No, that's correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
All right. Big Zebra, I think it's been about 3 episodes since I asked you to shill. So would you please shill, Steve?
Oh, okay. Well, BigZebra.com is not on hiatus. I'm just working on learning how to post on this new website. So I will shout and scream from the rooftops when I'm more functional. There is content there, though, if you're interested. Several different subjects, news, obituaries, and a couple of other things that I don't recall at the moment. But thank you for the opportunity to show.
Oh, thank you. And I really enjoy his sense of humor. I don't know that everyone will, but I don't know if you can get 100% of anyone to enjoy anything. But check out his channel if you get a chance. If you happen across this video, please check out BigZebra.com. His screen name is literally it's the website, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. So check out his website, and hopefully you'll love his humor as much as I have. All right. So while I was being late and people got to chatting in the side chat, the topic of groundhogs came up, and speaking of side chat, welcome. How do you say your name? Black female atheist. Welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. I want you to know that first of all, I have some respect for your mind, and I would like as much serious but harsh critique as possible to absolutely everything that I say about the Bible. Not my joke telling ability, not my accuracy in science, but whenever I talk about something in the Bible, I really want it harshly critiqued. In fact, I encourage people to go prove me wrong. When
Okay, you're wrong about everything. That's a hard critique right there.
Assertions are not proof, Steve.
So
I don't need logic. Yeah, but if I say a definition to a word exists, or the best way to look at the whole thing is a certain way, and you think that I'm wrong about that, please go prove me wrong. And the reason I want you to prove me wrong is twofold. One, if I'm wrong, I'd rather be right. So please correct me. And two, if I am right about a thing, you're going to prove it right to yourself. And that's more important than anything I say. Okay?
Okay.
Okie dokie. So the side chat got into the topic of groundhogs. And since I let the guys here lead the stream as to what the topic is, they said, well, we were talking about groundhogs in the chat. And I said, well, about the closest I can get to groundhog is in the Bible is gopher wood. So gopher wood, if you don't recall or you just don't even know, is what's being told us by the text that the Ark of Noah is made from. 100% gopher wood, and sealed inside and out with pitch. So like double sealed up, if you would, more than a person would normally seal a boat. In fact, unnecessary for a water vessel to be sealed so much, especially if you used a wood that would swell when it got wet and would seal itself up in the little tiny crevices and cracks that exist in wood. So gopher wood. So gopher wood is a wood that no people have ever called a wood anywhere on this earth, which is weird because there's a lot of wood and a lot of languages, but there's no gopher wood. So I'll make an assertion about gopher wood. Gopher wood means a material you don't have. What do you guys think of that?
How do we know it isn't a mistranslation? And it's not a subtle nod towards immateriality.
Okie dokie. Let's find out.
if there was a gopher wood, what qualities would it have that are similar to enough to a gopher to call it gopher wood? Like, what about wood could be like a gopher? That's what I'm trying to understand. I mean,
It's a really toothy wood.
right? Yeah, that's
It's a bit of a stretch, isn't it?
So you're saying it's like a fantasy name, like just make up something silly to indicate that it's something unattainable, like something in the Marvel universe, unobtainium or something like that, adamantium.
I'm looking up the wonderful folks at Wikipedia about gopher, and it well, it says a lot of things, but I think they're basically trying to explain away the phenomenon of gopher wood.
Yeah, they better. In fact, there's a lot of things Christians need to explain. Like, for instance, what are the seven thunders about? Why is it that omnipotence can't coincide with omniscience? How about the logical problem of the Trinity, where there are three beings who are exactly the same who are different?
Yeah, the Trinity is
explaining to do. We got a lot of explaining to do. But if we keep going with this, I'm at least going to be able to propose things that I think are plausible as answers. You don't have to accept them, but I think they're plausible answers. What happened to it? I had gopher wood up there. What happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Genesis 6:14. And make thee an ark. There we go. And the interlinear. Okay, so interlinear. So they have the Hebrew up here. I can't read Hebrew. So here's how the structure of it works. They give you the word in English, and then the Strong's number, then the inflected, the root, and the transliterated, and the parsing. Okay, so we'll go down to gopher. There you go, gopher. So in the Hebrew, apparently it's pronounced gopher. But what does it mean? Let's find out. It means gopher, spelled gopher, but pronounced gopher. And what does it mean? It means a gopher. Like, literally, it means a gopher. There you go.
I know there are gophers, of course, in North America. So would we be right in thinking there are all sorts of gophers around the world?
I do not have an answer for you. You could use a computer and look up if there are gophers in the ancient Near East. I have no idea. They named it the thing that houses in that is housed in, like burrows, right? And it's also a kind of tree or wood as used for building. Apparently, they've changed it and said it means cypress because they had to explain it somehow. But there's no such thing as gopher wood. Because cypress is already a name.
Apparently, we just have gophers in North America and Central America.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they named it after an animal that doesn't exist in the ancient Near East, and it's in the Bible, and a part of the Bible that's more than 3,000 years old.
Come on.
Well, where did they get the word from?
It means gopher.
Let's see. There's something here about the Septuagint, the Greek Hebrew Bible. Let's see.
Had they been to North America?
No, they haven't. Because of poor planning, clearly.
Obviously. I mean, if they knew what a great land this is with people that had ancient weapons, they would have come here like the white people did.
Right. Anyway, the Septuagint, their translation means out of squared lumber. And I'm just boring you guys with the Wikipedia entry.
Okay, so now we got two excuses that don't have anything to do with a gopher.
Yeah. But of course, if you were a Hebrew scholar writing out this story of Noah's Ark, why reach for the word gopher? I mean, it's it seems like a strange choice, especially since it's a kind of comical animal.
Well, the really interesting thing about that is it means something that houses in.
Mm.
But cypress is already a word they already had for that kind of tree and that kind of wood. And cypress wood appears many times in the text in the Old Testament from the same time frame. It's not like you can't say cypress wood. Why say gopher wood at all?
Well, if it's true that the story of Noah's Ark has predecessors in other languages, I'm just glancing at this. There are words that sort of are familiar that seem similar to gopher. And there's a reference to the Jewish Encyclopedia that they might have been translating Babylonian words, or there are a number of words that actually are candidates.
You want to look up the etymology of the word gopher?
Oh God, no. But let's do it. I guess that's why we're here. Gopher. But at any rate, these things are saying words like gushur in Babylonian, or giparo, which is Assyrian.
No, that's really not an issue, because we get a lot of our words from that part of the world, actually.
Sure.
Like you might recognize the Hebrew word kinemon.
No, please.
It's a spice. If that's a clue, it's a spice called kinemon. It's cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Yeah. Oh, there you have it. And cinnamon doesn't grow in the Holy Land, does it? I don't think so.
No, but they traded for it. They had a word for it.
Oh, okay, good.
It's actually part of the formula for the oil of anointing. You have to have kinemon.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's in the Bible. They give a recipe for it. Of course,
Also,
the recipe they give would make you like more than a gallon of it, but
there's a suggestion here that gopher might be the Jewish word kofar.
I just got to that too on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Which is a really interesting one. Pitched wood, because the Bible apparently says that the ark was pitched on both sides to make it doubly waterproof.
Well, yeah, but the word kofar has the ch sound in it, and goper does not at all. I think that's a worse stretch than just saying it's something you ain't got.
Yeah, it's just that it's of course we don't know what happened when this story was written down, and any errors that might have been made.
Ooh, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to accuse you, Steve, unfortunately, and it's not personal because you didn't make these things up. Okay.
J'accuse.
What's that?
Oh, in French it's j'accuse, where the detective points at someone. I accuse you of murder, that sort of thing.
Oh, anyway, I don't know that one.
Ahead.
Or I didn't know that one. I guess I sort of do now. If I hear it 27 more times, I'll probably remember it. But okay, so there is this atheist trope that I used to recite on a regular basis when the conversation came up that says, look, literary critique says that the words in the Bible have been changed 4 times as many times as there are words. Now, would that be true? Doesn't that sound damning?
Wait a second, the words have been changed by the time we get to English, you mean? Or
4 times as many. Just a second, I have to pause, guys. Hold on, I'll be
It's okay.
I'll be here. Okay, he's muted. We can talk about his beard now. His beard is magnificent.
It's
There's
stunning.
no stopping this man.
just incredible beard game.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I'm so unfortunate. No one's watching us right now.
Oh.
They miss this delightful beard talk.
You never want to tune out. You never know what's next.
Yeah.
On the
Well,
Richard
maybe
Manson show.
people will view it later. Actually, it says 3 are watching right now, but I only see 1, and that's Richard. Okay, Richard is coming back. He has a knife.
I am not watching on a separate monitor tonight, so I don't count as one of those people watching. So there's 2
Okay.
people that have not, or maybe anyway. Okay, so I used to always say this that there's 4 times as many changes as there have been words. Okay, now does that sound like it's damning?
I don't know if it makes any sense. Changes in what way? Like changed a preposition somewhere, or
No, that's the way the uneducated atheist would say it. There's been 4 times as many changes as there are words in the Bible to the Bible.
I've never heard that claim. That's
It's
massive.
totally true, though. No, it's completely true. You don't want to know why? Because English is not the next language it went to.
Mm.
It had to pass through several languages to get to English. So literally, you don't spell the same word the same way in every language.
Right.
Now, the question is, are they exactly the same word? Well, yes. It's exactly the same word. In fact, we have resources like we were just using that tell us what the original Hebrew word was. So how can that be wrong? It can't be.
Right.
Okay. And worse than that, it's been transliterated by too many scholars and too many scribes, and we wouldn't be able to know where the mistakes are. That would be the next trope that I would have used. Okay. Does anybody know what's wrong with making that statement?
The more scribes there are, the more we have to compare, and the more opportunity we have to correct.
That's right. That's a really good point. The more copies that you have, the more you can compare them and say, okay, this one's the odd man out. Obviously, it's a mistake. Okay. For instance, if I wrote a love letter to someone and I handed it to one person and then I died, for instance, I expired, that one person had complete control over all the information in that one existent love letter. But what if they deliver it and they changed it and they found out that 19 other people had delivered my letter? See, there's no way for them to cheat. If you don't have a signature copy, but instead what you have is many copies that you can compare to each other, there's no way to cheat. We have 3,800 separate accounts of just the New Testament. So there's literally like no way that we're wrong about what it originally said. It's impossible.
I do know that the work with the Dead Sea Scrolls would support you, Richard, because they found that their habits that they inculcated with making copies to avoid making errors was exceptional and very successful. So,
well, if you think it's life and death, you'd be careful too.
Sure.
Yeah.
But again, it's extraordinary that there's this word here that, of course, from Hebrew we call it gopher. But what would I guess my question is, what would, if you were Hebrew and
it means nothing to the Hebrew except for something that burrows and lives in a space.
Well, they wouldn't even know that, right?
No, that was part of the. You want me to show the definition again?
Please, yeah. Sorry to be so backward.
No, it's okay. Okay, it doesn't directly say it, but I can show you that's essentially the idea.
It actually says dubious on the Blue Letter Bible, and in the Wikipedia it says there's no consensus. So I think we have to give Richard plausibility here, which is what he asked for at the beginning. You know, this is at least a plausible claim.
So apparently, goper is the idea of something being housed in.
To
and that's
house
the only
in.
definition they had for what the heck a gopher is.
Was it? So,
masculine.
do you think it could have been a reference to the ark itself because it contains, whether you regard the ark as a box or as a giant ship?
Right. It's something to be housed in. Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a really excellent observation. If I was you, I'd be proud of myself.
Oh no, I don't think so. But thank you.
Christians don't seem to notice these things.
Well, maybe they're just too caught up in the religion to.
That's the problem right there. That's it. Okay. Go ahead. Say it.
Oh, I was going to say. So where do we go from here? It could be exactly as you described, Richard. If there is a divine influence over the writing of this book, but again, if it's true, why even mention gopher? Like, what function would it serve? Just to other than make
it serves. It serves two things. One, it suggests something to be housed in, like a physical housing, right?
Sure.
And then second, it's something you don't have.
All right. So
that's really well reading, Frank. Go ahead. Sorry.
So it has a double meaning.
Oh, almost everything has, multiple meanings.
Oh, okay.
The question becomes, what is the best context that's most consistent, has the greatest explanatory power, and if it has predictive power, that's even better. Okay. So here we have Genesis 6:4. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. So like double sealed. Okay. This is the fashion which thou shalt make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and it shall be a cubit. That's only one measurement. There's no second dimension, which suggests it's a continuous window going all the way around.
Really?
Well, think about it. Where's the second measurement?
Window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above, and the door of the ark shall.
It goes right to doors. It doesn't give you. It gives you only a height and no width. Above meaning height.
Okay.
So that looks to me like one continuous window.
Yeah, okay. It doesn't sound like a window to me. It's it sounds like you would have how to explain this. Imagine a layer of the ark that reaches out over everything and is supported from within, and there's a gap to let air come in and out.
Yeah, it means a gap, right?
Yeah.
But it's saying a window.
Okay, well.
I'm going to say one continuous window. That's why I'm going to say, because it's literally what it says. I'm going to explain why later.
Sure, keep going.
You guys know I'm cheating, and I have a continuous reading frame for the whole thing in one story. So I'm obviously cheating. I'll admit that right about. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, lower, second, and third stories. How many? Did you guys ever know that there's 3 stories?
Yes, from Ken Ham doing a tour of the Ark experience.
Most Christians are unaware that that it specifically says 3 doors, one for the lower, one for the second, and one for the third. Shalt thou make it. Stories there is interjected. It's not the right word. In fact, that word doesn't exist, but it does say obviously lower, second, and third.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right, and that's the end of the context that I need for this point that I'm going to make.
Fire away.
All right. And we're going to Revelation 4. I have to find the right one because I don't recall numbers. Here we go. Okay, I'm afraid I can't get it all on the screen at one time. Okay, but here we have Revelation 4:7, the 4 beasts around God's throne. And if we continue on, we find that the 4 beasts praise God. We have the 24 elders around God's throne, 4 and 20 seats. And there's a scene later, if you looked it up, where they put their crowns of gold before him on the floor. They bow down in front of him and put their crowns on the floor in front of him. Okay? And then you've got the mercy seat itself, or him who sits on the throne in 4:2. So you've got a centerpiece, then you've got 4 around that, and you've got 24 around that. And Christians mix that up into all kinds of forms that I think don't belong. But anyhow, okay? All right. So you've got 3 different sections here. Interesting that you have 3 different sections in Noah's Ark, especially when you start talking about what the word Noah means. Either you guys know what Noah means, by the way?
You told me, but I don't recall now.
It's a verb. It means rest. So if I said to any normal Christian, where am I going to find the act of giving rest? Because it's not an inaction, it's an action.
Well, I don't think most Christians know that the word Noah, name Noah, translates.
They normally don't. But I'm going to say it's the one who gives rest, thus Noah. But biblically, the one who gives rest means God. So just like Melchizedek means God, and Moses means God, and several others, here we are with another, I know it's boring, I'm sorry, story about God in end times. Here we are with another one. Okay, so Noah builds him an ark. Like, who else is going to build heaven for God but God? Well, he's going to have to do it himself. Nobody's going to do that for him. And then he's the one that gives rest. That makes sense. Then there's 3 different sections. That makes sense. And each of them have their own door. That is to say, they're separated one section from the other. They wouldn't need their own doors if they were all joined together by stairwells or whatever, or ramps. That wouldn't make sense. You wouldn't need separate doors. And then you have that same thing in the description of chapter 4 of the book of Revelation, the throne room of heaven. You have the same structure, the same general structure. All right. So I'm not going to try to find, I could find it for you, 12,000 furlongs, I guess. I guess I should. I'm just a little bit lazy. It's actually in there. Let's see, 12. It's probably written out. 12 FURLONGS. That'll be close enough. It'll find it. Here we go. And the measurement of the city in Revelation 21, which I didn't know it was in 16 at all. And the city lieth foursquare, and the length as large as the breadth. That is, if you measure it, it measures the same. And he measured the city with a reed. Okay, a reed is the same as a rod. A rod is a unit of measurement, just like fathom and acre are ancient units of measurement. Also furlong, 12,000 furlongs. If you do the conversion, 12,000 furlongs, you get 1,500 miles. And all the measurements are equal, you'll notice.
Okay.
Now, this part a person does not have to agree with me upon. It doesn't tell you where to start measuring from. That should be a problem.
Well, it would have to be from one of the corners. It says it's a square.
You're welcome. No, it doesn't say square. It says foursquare.
No. It's the city lieth foursquare, and the length is as large as the breadth. That makes it a square.
Is the earth foursquare? Because the Bible says it is.
Yes, the Bible's wrong. It's
okay, what does the Bible mean by with the earth is foursquare?
It just means that the person who wrote it didn't know any better. I don't say that to mock someone who wrote a passage in the Bible.
Okay,
But
so if in context, when it says the Earth is four square and it refers to the north, south, east, and west, could it mean four square means north, south, east, and west?
You know what? I guess all things are possible, but the length and breadth and height are equal. That's a
Yes, the
cue.
length, breadth, and height have to be equal. That's right.
Yeah. It's so the base is a square, and if you take the height into account, it's a cube. Sorry, Mac. I always seem to be talking here.
No, you're good. You're good.
Well, yeah, but you know,
Max already heard all this.
Here,
Okay.
it's pronounced tetraganos, and here's my contribution, and it means quadrangular or square. So it does mean square according to the translation of the Greek here. Four-cornered, i.e., square. Yeah.
What would the Hebrews say? I'm just a little bit. Richard is.
It wouldn't be Hebrew. It would be the one Mac just
Oh,
read you.
of course. Sorry, I was thinking Old Testament. I was in that mindset.
That's okay. So I'm going to veer from scholarship. I'm going to veer from what is normally thought of, and I'll justify why I'm doing it. Because the word firmament, which the beings or waters above fill, specifically means a dome shape. And if I'm going to say that this is talking about heaven, I'm going to say it's a dome shape to be consistent. And it does use the words foursquare to describe the four cardinal directions.
Mm-hmm.
And in Revelation, it goes so far as to say things like, and it lieth foursquare, and that's 3 to the east, 3 to the north, 3 to the south, and 3 to the west.
So what is it, a sphere? Is this a sphere then? Because the heavens, the firmament is round, and so is...
Well, it works as if the firmament is rounded. It doesn't say that it's round, but it says rounded, right? Mm-hmm. And if I took an arbitrary starting point and I measured the same distance in every direction, height, width, everything, then I am going to end up with a sphere. So I can say the city lieth foursquare written here is talking about how it has cardinal directions.
There is an alternative. What if you had, imagine a square on the ground, and then from opposite corners, you have curved lines like you might find in a cathedral.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That would be beautiful. I'm not saying it wouldn't be pretty.
I don't know.
I'm not sure I can justify both, though.
Yeah. Oh well, I just put it out there as a thought because it reminds me of Hagia Sophia in Istanbul.
Oh, that's some kind of temple, yeah.
Yeah. It's when you think of Turkey, it's like one of the first images that come up. Maybe I'll.
Sorry, when I think of Turkey, I think of stuffing.
Yes.
I'm not very educated about geography.
Let's see, Hagia Sophia.
It has one of those Hershey Kiss shaped roofs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's again. That shape is the eye of the needle, where you have a pillar and then the Hershey Kiss on top of it,
Right.
and that's the reason that's the eye of the needle is because it's the shape of a camel. And that original architecture came from city gates and house gates, so that no camel could enter with rider on its back. Actually, dromedary, but that's just the same. You get the idea.
Yes.
I think also I want to point out that I checked, and the word sphere is not an alternative option in the Bible. There is no mention of the word sphere in the Bible, so it's not like they could have used that instead. So
the closest word they had was circle.
Right, just used once in describing the Earth.
Mm-hmm. They say the circle of the Earth, and then people say, "Oh, it's a coin," and that makes no sense because coins are. A coin-shaped Earth wouldn't make any sense I think religious people often say things they know are ridiculous because they think the Bible demands it. But if the ancient Hebrew were referring to a sphere, they would say circle, and that was the word that they had for that, and it was just contextual. Exactly. Yeah. There's no such thing as a two-dimensional circle.
Right.
That it cannot actually be in existence in reality. That's an immaterial construct. It's an idea that we use. There's no such thing.
I'm not sure I understand that. You can draw a circle on a piece of paper. That's two-dimensional.
What'd you draw it with?
Three-dimensional items.
Does the ink have height?
Like a protractor or whatever they call those things.
Okay, you said pencil. Does pencil lead have thickness on the paper?
Sure. Well,
okay,
if
is
you
it two-dimensional?
Is the drawing two-dimensional? Essentially, yes.
Yeah. No, not essentially. Actually.
Then I would have to agree with you. All circles are three-dimensional.
You actually drew a very, very, very short tube.
Well, I don't know if I would. That would mean also that the paper that the circle is written on would be a cube.
No, but the paper is three-dimensional. It has thickness.
It's cubical.
It's a very, 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 very short. Well, actually, rectangle. What do you call a rectangle is three-dimensional? What do you call that?
A block.
A block.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's say a block. A piece of paper is a very, very, very short block. That's what it is.
Well, yeah, okay.
Unless it has zero thickness.
I will only reluctantly accept that argument.
Unless you're going to say it has zero thickness, in which case I'm wondering how you can see it.
If, of course, so you're saying that a universe with only two dimensions cannot exist?
No, it can't actually exist. There's no such thing as two-dimensional things.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm thinking this one over. But you know what? For the sake of argument, let's just say you're right.
Okay. I love that you're getting hung up on this one.
Yeah.
But going back to Foursquare. Okay, so it says Foursquare several times, gives the cardinal direction, even gives how many directions within the square in another part of the Bible, and it says that the square is circular. It even says that the square is circular in the gates of heaven, each one its own pearl. Okay? So I'm not hung up on the idea of square within something being four square or divided equally into four parts.
It's interesting that you mentioned each one is its own pearl.
Yes.
Which a pearl is, of course, a sphere. When they say each one, what is the each they're talking about? I kind of missed that.
Gate.
Someday we're going to get to that. Each one is its own pearl. What's that?
Okay. Each gate is its own pearl?
Yeah, each gate its own pearl. 12 gates.
Okay.
When they say pearly gates, they're accurate. And then when they say Peter at the pearly gates, they became inaccurate, saying there's only one gate.
Interesting.
And pearly gates doesn't mean two gates. It means specifically 12. One for each tribe, which is the zodiac. Just for a little bit of reference there.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it makes sense that if you're trying to divide the earth on average into 12 equal parts for judgment so that no specific angel is overloaded in work, an easy way to do that is say, what's your sign, baby? And everybody knows their sign, or somebody standing right beside you knows it. You know, I
find it interesting that divine beings and God himself can be things were really crazy at work today. You know, I was having a terrible day, said the angel. Yeah.
I'm sure they have very normal conversations, just like we do. The topics are just slightly different.
All right, man. What's next?
Okay, so if we start at an arbitrary point and we measure out 12,000 furlongs, you end up with 1,500 mile across.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way that works out. So that's about, try to imagine something that would stretch halfway across the United States, roughly, if you can even imagine that. Elsewhere in the Bible, it says that the distance that this angel or whatever hovers at is 3,000 feet. You have to you have to be 3,000 feet from it. That is, you don't have a choice but to be 3,000 feet from it because you don't have personal wings. So then you have a spherical, a dome in every direction object in the sky, 1,500 miles across at 3,000 feet off the ground. This would easily explain to me why people would hide themselves in caves and caverns wishing for the mountain to fall on them. Because I think that would be a very normal reaction in that scenario.
Yes, they'd be scared of plenty.
Oh, speaking of which, if it were a cube and it were only 3,000 feet off the ground, I guess it would have to be 3,000 feet off the mountaintops. And some mountains are higher than 3,000 feet. I guess with the curvature of the earth, and if you just parked in, like, I don't know, the Gobi Desert, but only there. Or maybe the Salt Flats. No, you'd still be hitting mountains, and you have to be 3,000 feet off of the mountains. Then you can't decide what to measure the distance from.
Well, if we say that we looked at it from God's perspective, and a bunch of humans said,
Seems like
hey,
a good idea.
You said it would be 3,000 feet off the ground, but the earth is curved and blah, 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 so it's not accurate. I think God would tell us not to be pedantic and probably...
I think that's going too far, yeah.
Yeah, he'd say, come on, then no one could ever describe anything if you demand that level of exacting measurement.
Good point. I wish I'd brought that up with Christopher Stum.
Who's that?
Christopher Stum is a philosopher, a brilliant man, somewhat a friend of mine. And he is in love with math. I'll put it that way. That I don't think you'd find that label as insulting. And I was starting a conversation with him, trying to begin to describe the story of David and Goliath as the inner planets and the sun.
Right.
And he said, well, if you're going to assert that, the level of evidence that I want is this kind of level of evidence. And then he gave an example of proving that 3 is a prime number. Do you know how much it takes to prove that 3 is a prime number?
I don't think it's that hard.
Like a formal proof?
A formal proof that 3 is a prime number. You have to disprove that everything else isn't. That it can't be something else. And he went through that, and it took 45 minutes, and he did not complete it.
Oh, God. And then you never spoke to him again.
Actually, we did a second show, but just the same. But it's a very practical and usable thing to say, well, you might want that kind of definition. That'd be great, but then we're never going to actually finish a conversation about anything. So I'm actually really glad you said that, Steve. That's a good point.
Okay.
I never thought about it.
Do what I can.
Right on. Okay, so back to Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark has 3 levels, and we can tell that because it has 3 doors. And then let's say it has a wraparound window that's 18 inches tall, something like that. Okay. And it's perfectly justifiable to say what you have is a roof canopy and a space and a wall, and the space between the roof and the canopy. The roof canopy and the wall is a cubit or whatever measurement they gave, and that's perfectly justifiable to say. What I believe the actuality is that it has one continuous window that is actually sealed, not in airspace.
Oh.
And it's one window per level at the top of each level. Okay.
But if it's sealed, it's not a window, right?
If it's depends on what kind of window you mean. And I think this is why there's 3 stripes on a green background of a semi-spherical object or a spherical object with a flat bottom so that it doesn't roll off of things in Hinduism. And that is the most important thing that you can know exists, which is the emerald light around the throne of God. That's why it's spherical shaped and green. That's why they make that rock that way. And the three stripes are literal windshields. It's a wraparound window that goes all the way around the whole thing.
Has this been illustrated somewhere that I can look at it?
I don't know what to call, and I don't speak Hindu anyway, but it's like you could probably just like look up the words Hindu altar, and that would probably do. In fact, I think I should, just to make my point.
Well, don't let my questions sort of interrupt your flow.
No, you have a mind that deserves respected and addressed. I'm going to try to do that.
Vimana? Is that what we're talking about?
It's a ground. It's a green spherical-ish stone with a flat bottom.
Okay. I've never heard of this.
I watched two epics from Hinduism. I watched the epic of Hanuman and Ramayana, and it was throughout the movie. Every time somebody went to pray to a god, they had to go there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like everybody had their own, is what I'm saying.
Sintamani, maybe?
I don't know the word,
Maybe.
man. Seriously.
Yeah.
Maybe you can put a link into the chat.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, it is called a Sintamani. Yeah, you found it. I had no idea what the word was. It didn't say the name of the thing in the movies I watched. The Hindu religion movies, yeah. Each one of the epics were 50 hours. Okay, it's referred to as a wish-fulfilling stone. How you like that? Now, I've seen them where they're painted with one silver stripe or three silver stripes across them. So the wish-giving stone is the round emerald-colored thing that grants wishes. Neat, right?
Yeah. And it's only $224.
Oh, lucky us. Let's buy 3.
Yeah.
So it's just a rock, but it's the rock that you pray to have your wishes answered. You see?
So I'm having a thought that might take us on a weird tangent, but I just want to throw it out there that I was listening to another apologetics about Noah's Ark the other day, and they were describing the Ark as cubical, and specifically in terms of its seaworthiness, that it could be like sort of like a floating thing rather than a ship, something that could be like ballasted and floating, and was trying to make that a plausible scenario. And but when you were describing the sphere of glass and the kind of the spherical nature of things, and specifically 3,000 feet above the ground, I started thinking about, have you ever read any Buckminster Fuller?
I don't know who that is.
So Buckminster Fuller was an inventor who designed geodesic domes, among other things, but that was his big contribution to at least to architecture. So, the dome houses that are sort of in that one geometrical shape. Anyway, he theorized, I'll try to cut to the chase here. He theorized that, and I think he proved mathematically that if you were to build a geodesic dome large enough, that the internal air would be a different temperature enough to the external air that it would actually achieve a weightlessness. It would actually rise up off of the surface of the Earth, just by nature of its shape. At some point, that ratio would be sufficient for it to rise up off of the surface of the Earth, and it would be something like a half mile. I think, if I remember right, it would be about a half mile radius sphere, or 3/4 of a sphere, or whatever the dome was. And of course, that could be changed by opening up windows. You could raise and lower it by allowing some heat differential between the internal, the external of the structure. I don't think he ever got to try it. Some pretty big domes have been built over stadiums and stuff, and I wonder if they ever get internal pressure like that just naturally because of the shape. I don't know, but it occurred to me that might be significant. If we're trying to bob up and down on water, maybe some kind of square would be sufficient. But even then, if it was literal water, I think a sphere would be more resilient. Bobbing up and down.
For an actual boat, you may have a point there. I'm not certain. It seems that a heavy weighted sphere that was significantly up out of the water, so that no matter where a wave hit it from, it would be a glancing blow. It could never be a direct hit. Seems like it would be advantageous. I don't think that's what the text is describing, but I think you brought up a good point.
Right.
Yeah, this is the best conversation about mythical boats I've ever had. Here we are sitting here talking about boats or ships that carry a huge number of animals because that's how God wants.
Let's talk about the animals. I think that's a really, really good point. This is often neglected by Christians. And I would just ask you, Steve, because you're the least familiar with the text, have you heard, just because of your community, how many animals go on the ship, on Noah's Ark?
I don't know of a number. I do know that the text gives actually two accounts. If the animals are, I think, kosher, you're supposed to bring 12. But if they are just other animals, like, you have 2 elephants, not 12.
You did better than most everybody I know. Most people say it's two and two. Two of each animal. Most people say that, right?
No, they do. But I think, for example, sheep, there are 12 of them were brought on board.
You're close, but you're still wrong.
Okay, what's the deal?
What it says is 2 a male and its female, 7 a male and its female.
14.
Right, 14. Because you can't divide 7 by 2 evenly and get living animals.
You're right, you can't.
So it can't be a division problem, right? So it has to be a multiplication problem. That's 4 of the unclean and 14 of the, as you said, kosher.
Yeah, so 4 of the unclean. So that's there's none of this 2 by 2 nonsense.
Not at all. Not in the story.
Where does
so when they say, God only had to put so many blah, 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 and babies and blah, blah, blah. No. They're dividing the number. Actually, let's see, 2 and 14 is 16. They're dividing it 8 times to make that estimate of what the ark could hold. So they're 8 times too small already.
Wow. Okay. Well, those wacky Christians, I tell you, it is strange. It's just, I think it's one of those things that we do with stories, that we tell them in a way that appeals.
Somebody check that. Is that 4 times too small? Are they saying a number 4 times too small, or are they saying, okay, I have to get this right because I have to be accurate because I'm a freak. Okay, so 14 plus 4 is 18, right? Mm-hmm. But they say it's 2 and 2, which would be 4. So 18 divided by 4 is what?
9. No. It's.
Oh, that's wrong.
I'm going to shut up now. It's over to you, Mac.
18 divided by 2 is 9.
So it'd be 4 point. It'd be 4.2. 16 and then another half, or 14. Right. It'd be 4.5. Okay, so they're stating a number they should multiply by 4.5 to get the actual possible blah blah blah. Okay, so they're really against the text by over 4 times wrong.
Well, it depends. Like if there are enormous amounts of non-kosher animals, then the more the more kosher animals you have, the greater out of whack the estimates would be.
Right.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I think the Bible names a bunch of them, like it gives examples, but a lot of animals could be kosher, but aren't necessarily eaten.
Yeah, there's kind of funny. I don't want to get too far on this tangent, but just out of interest, yeah. And this is something that doesn't have to be justified in a different way than it's already understood. The only thing that needs to be altered, and the only thing that I think they got wrong is when it applies, not how to read the application, because it literally says cloven hoof, choose the cud, kosher. No cloven hooves, choose the cud, kosher. 2 toes front and 2 toes backward bird, not kosher. 3 toes forward and 1 toe back bird, kosher. I don't know why. I imagine that someday we're going to find out that in nutritional value, those are facts of what human beings need for food. I would imagine we're going to sometimes find out it's a fact. Don't know when that will be, except for maybe in heaven.
Right.
We don't even know what the human animal is yet.
I think if heaven exists and we go there, the first thing we'll be handed is a list of frequently asked questions.
You know, actually, Steve, that's not bad. That's not bad, and here's why that's not bad. There's a scene where in the bottom of the throne room, there's this sea of glass. Okay. And elsewhere in the Bible, it says that Jesus is the first one to enter our heaven. So when people ascend, but he's still got to do his ministry, they're sitting in the bottom of he who sits on the throne. They're sitting in the bottom of the mercy seat, apparently.
Okay.
And then it says that there's those who stand afar off. The only place you could stand afar off from the whole earth is in heaven, unless you own your private spaceship, I guess. They stand afar off and they bewail the destruction of the planet as it's happening, so they're able to watch it. Well, if there was a thick glass floor and you're standing on it and you're looking down at something from 3,000 feet, you could certainly watch it. That shouldn't be a problem. So they're watching the earth getting destroyed. They go, oh, because we made all this money and we're super rich businessmen and whatever. We had ocean liners. Yeah, it actually describes an ocean liner, something that didn't exist at the time. And now we're all of our money is gone. But that also means that a rich person who's bewailing the loss of the earth went to heaven and is sitting under the throne of God watching it burn. So that there seems to be like lots of common misunderstanding and people really not digging the new situation. And I think maybe a pamphlet with most commonly asked questions would be really handy. Maybe Michael will have that for us. That'd be cool.
Yes. Who knows? And maybe some snacks. You know,
I like snacks. And by the way, after 3.5 years of no hot shower, I'd like one of those when we get there.
Right. Actually, a strange story. My parents, this would have been, I don't know, in the 70s, invited some friends over. And they were just chatting and having a good time. And my mother looked down at the table and saw that they were eating some pork rinds that they'd put out.
Right.
Remarked on how delicious they were. And then my mother realized, oh my God, they're Jewish. They don't know what pork rinds are. Then my parents, of course, were horrified, but didn't know what to do, so they didn't tell them. And these people would occasionally ask my parents, what on earth were those delicious treats you set out for us? And my parents would pretend not to remember or know. I think my parents' Jewish friends knew exactly what was going on, and they were trolling them. They were saying, oh, let's ask them about those mysterious treats they put up for us.
Well, if your mom is an older lady when this happened, then she probably put them in a bowl. They probably weren't in a bag that read the word pork rinds.
Right.
So,
Yes. Yes. Well, they were served in a bowl, So
Yeah.
I would think so.
anyway,
What were those
that's off
tasty,
topic.
crispy, fluffy treats. Those were yummy.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway, sorry, Richard. I've really thrown
That's
us off
quite all right.
topic now, but there you go.
No, I always remember what the actual topic is. So that's not a problem. And I have fun listening to you and talking with you and stuff. Okay, so all right, so the overall Noah's Ark being the one who gives rest, the measurements, the number of floors correlating directly to the arrangement in the throne room of heaven, that it's at 3,000 feet, that the waters lift it up. That's a theme throughout the Bible, that we are a complement to heaven, not something that pulls heaven downward and makes it less. We are a complement to heaven when we ascend. And the idea that we do lift up heaven. And then you could take that metaphysically and say believers lift up heaven. You could say it that way as well. But it can also mean literally we lift it up. Upon our entry, we are an addition that's welcome. Okay, so you get all that, and that's about 3 levels deep right there. Then you've got the word waters defined as large group of people, and then you've got waters under the ark, and then you've got scenes from Isaiah and Revelation where heaven is literally in the sky. The seraphim are hovering above at 3,000 feet, and the large crowd of people are below, and they're very confused. Then there's also the story where there's a war between prophets, and they're trying to decide who's the right prophet. And they say, well, I'll build an altar, you build an altar, you call out to God, and if this is your God, if this is the true God, he can catch it on fire. And then the actual prophet of God douses it in water, and God sends out a lightning bolt, essentially some kind of a particle beam, I don't know what that is, fries the whole thing instantaneously. It's not a challenge whatsoever. Which makes sense. Oh, and speaking of which, the occurrence of thunder, constantly in the story, the occurrence of thunder, the whole idea of thunder, religion-wide. If I had something that was spherical in shape and it was from outer space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had 29 of them 1,500 miles across, and I had 4 of them that were about 3,200 miles across. Wait. 1,500, 35, about 3,500 miles across. And then I had one of them that was 8,700 miles across, or a little bit bigger than this planet. And those all came into the atmosphere and hovered at 7,000 feet simultaneously. How much air would that move? And some of them would still be in space, Like,
I'm not sure what the volume of a sphere is. Is it pi r squared? No, that's the area of a circle.
That's the area of a circle. Then you have to multiply that by something else to get a sphere.
I think it's pi r cubed. But
that's right, pi r cubed.
The answer is all of the air would be affected by that kind of event.
Okay, so do you think with that amount of air movement and displacement, there would be high winds and lightning?
Yes.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. You just caused a storm on the planet.
It's crazy. Big,
nasty storm.
I posted in chat the equation for the volume of a sphere.
Oh, was I wrong?
It's 4/3 pi r cubed, I think it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, cubed. So big numbers.
Big numbers anyway, yeah. Okay, so it'd be a lot of air displacement. Obviously, the one the size of the Earth, and the 4 that would stretch bigger than across the United States. You want to hear something interesting? I cured myself of hiccups at 13. You just heard me hiccup, but I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. It won't happen again.
Interesting.
And by the way, it's all in your head. Hiccups are all in your head. If you let them continue, that's on you. So 4 of the spheres would still be sticking up into outer space. despite the fact that they were 3,000 feet off the ground. And of course, the Mercy seat would too, being about the size of this planet. But the air displacement there would, and the charge differential between the outer atmosphere, something that approaches from the outer atmosphere or further away, coming toward the Earth, just like sprites are induced from space radiation into electrical discharges into clouds and into the Earth, just like that, you would see so much lightning everywhere that it's no wonder it's so often referred to in these ancient religions. Okay, guys. So I'm not even going to give you time to critique all that. Gosh, how rude of me. But no, let's go ahead and take the time. So we talked about how it literally says most likely cube. That's fine. What other objections do we have?
Objections.
Yeah.
Over to you, Mac.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm in the state that I normally am in near the end of these chats, where my head feels sort of foggy and trying to absorb everything that's been said. I don't know if I have any objections. I think the hiccup thing might be the most amazing claim that you made, and we just sort of brushed over that.
Okay, so I'll end it by telling a short story about my next eldest brother, who was a bookworm.
All right.
And he's high on the spectrum of autism as well. He has Asperger's.
Okay.
And he is just hugely easily annoyed. So I think he was reading the Hitchhiker's Guide trilogy.
Nice.
And I walked into the room where he was reading, and I had a case of the hiccups. I was 13 years old. He said to me, "What are you doing?" And me being literal and somewhat humorous, I said, "Hiccuping?" And he said, "Okay, fine." Because I could tell he was annoyed by my presence. And usually if you're quiet, he wouldn't object to you being there. So I said, "Hiccuping." And he said, "Okay, and what's a hiccup?" And our mom is a medical professional, was a medical professional. And I said, "Well, it's a convulsion of the diaphragm. And when the sudden expansion of the diaphragm happens, it sucks air into your mouth, into your esophagus, causing the glottis to suddenly close and flap back open, making a hiccup sound." Okay. Which is what it is. And he said, "And what's in charge of your body?" Because he treated me like an idiot, because compared to him, I am. And I said, "Well, my brain." And he said, "Now who is in charge of your brain?" I said, "Me." And he said, "Why are you hiccuping?" So I found the part of my brain, just like if you can wiggle your ears, curl your tongue, do the Spock thing.
Right.
If you can do this, let's see. You can probably stop your hiccups. You just have to find the right muscle and relax it. You're just having a muscle convulsion. That's all you're having. If you think of it as something in your throat, you'll never find it. It's your diaphragm.
I have to say that if my brother had done this to me, I would have questioned him about his farts. Who's in charge of your body?
He had me by 60 pounds, bro. That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Could you run faster? That's the important thing.
I ran a lot as a child, actually, because I had two older brothers. My next eldest, well, actually, I have a total of three older brothers, but two of them were profoundly influential in my life. The third one didn't live with us. And he was a half brother, actually. But the two that were whole brothers, they both of them were bigger and stronger than me. One was too lazy for work, and the other one was too good for it. So I just learned how to do everything, actually, which is pretty darn crazy. I can do all kinds of stuff. All right, guys. So last thoughts, wrap it up, and we'll put a bow on this thing.
Mac, you have to go first because I'm formulating mine.
All right. I'll just say thanks, guys, again. Awesome conversation, awesome talk. I'm really sorry I missed you guys last week, and more than I should for a parasocial relationship. I think this might be more real than that, and I appreciate you guys for that. So thanks. You were in my heart while I was up there away from the internet. So thanks.
Well,
I
thank
hope
you.
you had a good time just the same. Really, I do.
Thanks.
I wanted to echo Richard's refrain of peace and respect to you both.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
I think we have to remind ourselves that this started by us talking about gophers, and look how far
Absolutely.
we've come.
Amazing.
Gopher is
Thanks.
the animal of peace, apparently.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks,
Someday we'll
Wildheart.
figure out what a zebra is. Yeah, thanks for dropping by, Wildheart, as well, and JG and Black Female Atheist. Thank you so much, all of you. And please make comments, make objections. I'll try to address you individually if you take the time to write underneath of this video. I will. Even if you're not here right now, if you watch it later, please make a comment. So thank you very much, Steve. Thank you very much, Mac. I hope we can do this again. Mac's schedule, if it can be forgiving at all, we'll do this again at this same bat time, same bat channel, same bat day of the week. That'll be Wednesday this coming week. Thank you both very much. I appreciate your brains.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Till next time, guys, I want you all to know that I truly do look forward to the day that we're all great friends.